My presentation will be structured in three main areas. First of all, to introduce who is SIV, who is the team, and who is behind this new venture created in 2022 in Netherlands. And afterwards, we'll talk about our target audience, the population, the people that we are targeting, and why we came with this new initiative. And afterwards, how our strategy behind urban planning, a very simple concept that runs all our strategy around Africa in many countries. First of all, SIV is structured by what we call SIV team. SIV team is a, let's say, 15 persons working in this initiative. We have developed 13,000 homes in Africa in 10 years, delivered and sold to affordable homes to people, mainly North African countries and West African countries. We developed 6,000 units in Morocco, social housing, pure social housing, financed by the IFC. We constructed schools, nursery, police stations, student accommodations inside the project. We developed the first affordable projects in one of the satellite cities, the 6th of October in Egypt, in Cairo. And in 2010, we exit after the Arab Spring came. We also developed a PPP program in Dakar, 1,200 social housing scheme in the city center of Dakar, with pure social housing, 20 million francs CFA, that is around 30,000 euros per unit. And then we were one of the first, let's say, we issue a social bond in Nigeria, in the Nigerian Stock Exchange. We developed 4,000 affordable homes in Nigeria. Then in 2018, analyzing the situation and looking at the project that we were developing, some of the colleagues of this company decided to start a new venture, and why? And this story came analyzing the people. But just before finalizing, who is behind also SIV is Cardano Development, is an incubator and a fund manager that Cardano has incubated many projects, many companies like TCX, a hedge currency risk company, is fund manager of Guaranco. Guaranco was one of the guarantees that help us to issue this corporate bond in Nigeria, with also Lion's Head that provided guarantees for this bond. And today, well, Cardano is more focused on sustainable finance, but they want to develop a new concept that I will present to you, because we are providing innovative solutions for affordable homes. The idea of what comes around SIV is clearly focused on people, where we were developing 30,000 in 8 different countries in Africa for the last 15 years. And we were looking at the people that we were targeting, and we were forcing them ownership. And we came to the conclusion that we should also propose other things. It's true that when we were in Morocco, most of the units were sold with mortgage system, social housing schemes. But when you go to Nigeria, Senegal, Ivory Coast, it's different. You need to be more innovative. Then we developed payment plans, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years payment plans, but also rent-to-own schemes for Nigeria, Senegal, and Ivory Coast. But there's a lot of people that cannot afford even our homes. And I think in one of the presentations that Riol presented in Kenya, there was in the video, there was 21% of the families own a home. What happens with the other 80% of the families in Africa? Most of them are renting. And today, what we are presenting as a social infra ventures and the first social infrastructure platform for Africa is a mix of projects, is a mix of different ways of people achieving a home. One is we will develop in a single project homes for selling, as we've been doing for the last 15 years, with mortgage system, with payment plans, but also with rent-to-own schemes. That's for the vehicle that is for build to sell. But also we want to propose build to rent units. And this will be mixed in the same project because we believe that is the way we can provide sustainable communities. And in the big difference between build to sell and build to rent, for the build to sell activity, 95% of the units that we've been sold in the past was 2-bed apartment, one single bathroom, kitchen and a living room, between 40 to maximum 55 square meters, between 20 to maximum 30,000 euros per unit. That's what we typically consider as affordable homes. But affordability is a component of three things: price of the home, earning of the family, and financing for the family, and even financing for the real estate developer. Then we saw that in some other countries it's not possible, and what we want to propose to the market and to address a clear and quick, how to address the market quickly, is to provide rent homes. And what we want to propose is different typologies. It's the first time that we will develop studios. It's the first time we will develop 1-bed apartments, but also we will develop 2-bed apartment and a minimum part of 3-bed apartment. What we are targeting that, for example, in Morocco, when you buy a home of 25 euros unit and you have a mortgage of 20 years with an interest rate of 6, more or less you are paying 100 euros per month. The idea with SIV is that we want to achieve lower than that, because people cannot afford this, maybe are not bankable. And you have to think about what is happening today. Most of the families that when we have this idea of creating SIV, could afford to buy a home. But today, the increase of everything, of life, makes that most of these families that were supposed to buy a home, now they cannot do it. Then the rental market is more important now than ever. Even if in the rental market today, we don't have any data in Africa. As we speak, we are doing the first study market in Morocco, the rental market in Morocco, because there's no data. There's no data in Tunisia, there's no data in Egypt, there's no data in Senegal, Ivory Coast, in Kenya, yes, and Cameroon. But now we are starting this study market with the help of Keithia and Marine from CAF, funded by the African Agence Française de Développement, and I hope also the IFC. Then let's think about the idea that we are bringing. Quick solution. I've been hearing the 2 days today, mortgages, creating mortgages. This is a very important thing, but it's going to come in the next years. What we are bringing here is a quick solution for the market. And this is something that is urgent to do it. Then rental market is a big solution and a very straightforward solution. One of the ideas that we are bringing also, and to be a little bit disruptive, affordability is not a matter of scale. We've been doing projects in Chefchaouen, in Morocco, 250 units, social housing, pure social housing project. We don't need all this scale. What we need is to develop projects in secondary cities where there's no competition at all, where people are expecting to have a home, that we can bring people from the big hubs of Africa to these secondary cities. The idea of SIV is also develop these secondary cities as a solution, as a green solution. And I was explaining you also the concept that runs all our business. And this concept is a very simple concept. It's what we call 15-minute city. Somebody mentioned during the presentation. What means a 15-minute city is what we call a sustainable community. Everything around you is possible. In 15 minutes walking or cycling, you can have access to workplace, you have access to healthcare education, you have access to healthcare, you have access to security, etc., and homes, of course. Then all our strategy goes around this concept of 15-minute city. And we are focused, as I said, in secondary cities, but also in big hubs, like Cairo. The first project we did here was in the 6th of October satellite city, but now, if you look at, if you had time to visit Cairo, I've been here for many, I think, 16 times, you see a lot of buildings that need to be refurbished, abandoned. The idea of the 15-minute city is also to refurbish these assets and to transform in social housing for rent and also for sale. And why this concept of refurbishing or circular economy? Because the infrastructure is also there, and you only need to enhance this infrastructure. Then it's a matter of how you enhance the product, how you bring social facilities that they are not around you. Then we need to work with the owners' associations that is around our projects, etc. Then the secondary cities initiative is also the same. We are focusing in very small projects, human-sized projects, 250 to maximum 500. That means that we can target small landlords that have lands of 1 hectare, 2 hectares, close to the city centers. We don't want to develop homes that are far from the city centers. People have to go transport. We understand the problems of transport in mental health, but also in terms of environmental problems that always transporting and going to the work. Then this is the kind of concept that we are presenting here. It's a very simple concept, and you have to understand that social infrastructures will have two types of vehicle. One is for selling, and the other one is for renting. The renting, the idea that we have in mind is to develop 3,000 homes in North African countries as a platform, affordable housing platform for rent, and we will develop 20,000 units for sale. You will say, well, you're still having this differentiation. There's a lot of homes that you are developing for selling when you are saying that there's a lot of need in rental. It's true, but we are in the build-to-sell activity. You have a 3 years, 4 years maximum cycle, and you can recycle the funds. In the build-to-rent, it's different. You need very patient capital. You need debt, very long-term debt for developing it. And one of the big issues that we see in Africa, and you see around, and all the projects that we see in Dakar, in Ivory Coast, in Nigeria, in Ethiopia, is the quality of the projects. After 3 years, you deliver a project, you see that the buildings are almost looks abandoned. SIV is going to create a facility management company to maintain the units that we own as the rental platform, but also the idea is that we want to keep and to create the owners association for the build-to-sell units. Because we need to educate people that the maintenance is important. And also for the banks. Most of the banks are providing mortgages to the people. Then if the assets are well maintained, the quality and the value of the assets and as a home is maintained. In terms of green, well, the 15 minutes city is also a sustainable way or environmental, because you reduce the transport, you reduce the surface of roads, you can create more green spaces. But in SIV, we believe that to be green is important, but we believe in SIV that this is already something that is obliged for you to do. The problem is that the climate change is already there. Then our projects need to be climate adaptable. That means that the projects need to be resilient. Then in SIV, we will have an age solution, a green certification. The idea for the rent platform is to achieve what we call the second level of age, that is called zero carbon ready. But we want to be also resilient, and this is why we are also targeting to have a building resilient index. That's just because we want to say that we are resilient, and somebody has to measure if we are really resilient. Then this new tool that IFC is also bringing to the market is very important, because we can say that we are resilient, but at the end we are not. What means resilience? Resilience is a lot of things. As a developer, afterwards you can have also municipality actions, but for heating you have many actions that you can create in terms of solutions that for heating. You have flooding problems. The resilience of buildings is super important for the future. Yesterday somebody introduced one concept that I never heard before. We have social migration, but now somebody introduced the concept of climate migration. We need to create resilience buildings for the future. And not just for the new buildings, but also for the refurbishments of homes that we are planning to do in big hubs as Cairo, Casablanca, Dakar, many buildings that are abandoned that we can transform as a social housing. Then this is a small list of actions that we, as developers, we can create to be resilient. And also, for us, resilience is not just a matter of the building can be sustainable for climate change, but also a concept of resilience is also sustainable, social sustainable. One means that when we develop our projects, what we want to bring, and is why the definition and why we call social infrastructure ventures, is that we want to bring social facilities. We want to introduce this concept also, and this tool that also has been developed by the IFC is ASHA. This also monitors what is the need around your project. And this is something that we did in our former company. We created, as I said, schools, nurseries, clinics. For example, in Dakar, there was a problem of people. We construct 1,200 units in the middle of Dakar. One of the requests of the people was to have a swimming pool. We created the first swimming pool in an affordable project in Dakar. We create a green area for people to play, a sport area, something very innovative, maybe not in Europe, no, maybe not in the US, but in Africa. The Résidence de la Paix project was 5 hectares. We spent 1 hectare to develop all these green areas. That was very important, and that was because of the conversations that we have with neighborhoods around. There was a neighborhood called Cœur d'Amel in that area. We discussed with the associations what is needed to construct, what is needed to develop, what is needed in the neighborhood, because our project is going to bring 1,200 units. Then this sustainability index, let's say, is very important as a matter of green, because if people doesn't believe or take ownership of the project will fail, even if it's resilient, even if you have climate change, even if you are green. Then, I think I have to finish now. Then just to finalize, as I said, this platform has been created. We are starting projects next year. We are starting in Morocco, then we go to Tunisia and Egypt, and in a second phase we will go to Senegal, Ivory Coast, and Nigeria. Somebody maybe will ask why these countries, because we have experience on that countries, and we are more French speakers than English speakers, and we feel comfortable on that markets, and that's it.